Hey guys, welcome back to More Than a Mortgage. This is a podcast where we focus on storytelling for folks that are in our industry or adjacent to our industry. My name is Gavin Sessions. I'm your host and I'm a mortgage broker. I'm the leader of the Sessions Group. I'm super pumped, and I'm not even kidding, that Tanner came back to do another episode with us today. Tanner, welcome back to the show.
Yeah.
Great to have you, honestly.
Thanks for having me back. I'm
You
glad
bet.
I made it back for round two.
Absolutely. When we last left off, we were at your first episode, which I'd recommend to anyone to go listen to. It would help them get to know you just a little bit. Very heavy on storytelling, which was our intention at the time, right? We wanted to introduce you better to your own audience, introduce you better to my audience. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different, right? I mean, we can talk personal things, friends, family, etc. But I think our goal today is a little bit different. We really want to focus on some of the success that you have found specifically since you were here last, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Just to kind of remind ourselves of that timeline, it was early November. So this episode probably came out in, I don't know, close to December, would have been right around that period of time. And I think you probably had about 5,000 followers on Instagram at that time.
Yeah, I was sitting right around 5,000, but a lot of it was, and I was trying to explain this the other day, a lot of that following I had gained back in I don't know, it would have been 2013 to 2015 time frame when I was doing title insurance. And I was going really heavy on Instagram then for networking for my title insurance. So a lot of that, if you look, obviously don't have a graph of the years, but most of my following was gained during that time. And then it just kind of went stagnant. My Instagram, if you scroll back far enough, please don't. But it's just random personal stuff here and there because I kind of did it for work and then stopped completely. So yeah, I did have 5,000 followers, but I feel like it was a pretty stagnant group of followers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not current.
No, not at all.
Got it. And since then, not to completely just bury the lead here, but since then your following has grown pretty substantially. I don't know that I track you well enough on any platform but Instagram.
Yeah.
But last I checked, which would have been earlier today, I think you're just shy of about 20,000 followers.
Yeah, probably 20 by the time it comes out.
Crazy. And if we do the math, that's a pretty substantial growth in a pretty short period of time. So call it 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, just about. Yeah, December. It was mid-December, and I told myself I was going to post at least once a day for 100 days. And that's kind of when it started. So yeah, about 6 months ago was when I decided to take social media serious.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Once a day for 100 days straight.
Yeah.
We've exceeded 100 days for sure.
Yep.
How many days in a row do you think you've posted?
Every about 6 months now.
Okay.
I guess and that's at least once a day. Some days, I'm sure, as you're aware, 2 to 3 times if it's a particularly creative day.
And these aren't just pictures of your cats.
No.
Which you probably don't have cats, I don't think.
No cats. Not a cat guy.
Bummer.
Dogs.
Dogs. Okay.
Yeah.
They're not pictures of your dogs either.
Right.
If we looked at your profile here, we could put it on screen, and others, I'm sure, who know who you are, and people are going to look you up from this conversation, right? They're going to actually see very consistent messages, right? It's a lot of you talking head video stuff, the same font with your captions or descriptions on screen, however you want to say it, right? But it's wildly consistent from day to day to day, right?
Yeah. So the first, and the reason I chose 100 days is because I had a business mentor tell me, he always had what he called his 100-day rule.
Okay.
And that was, you don't get to grade yourself on if you're good or bad at something until you've done it every day for 100 days or done it 100 times if it's not a daily activity. Because if you try to grade yourself 10 times in, you're going to be bad, and that could be enough to discourage you. But if you go 100 days, you could at least get an idea of if you're improving, if you're good, maybe you're great at it already. So that's why I chose the 100 days. And that's what I always tell everybody is because a lot of people I've seen recently do a 30-day challenge, which I think is great. It's better than nothing. But if you look at my first 30 days of posting, so call it mid-December to mid-January, I was all over the board. I was trying to do, the stuff that is working, the stuff you see that's popular. I was trying to mix in some personal stuff. I was just I didn't really know what I was doing. It was just whatever came to mind. And I'd say probably 90 days in or so is when I really started going heavy on the talking head stuff. And that's what ended up starting producing results. And so now 80% of my stuff is talking head.
Crazy.
But the first month was a nightmare.
So should we go back and talk about the first 30 days?
I think it's like could be valuable for anybody that's
Yeah.
trying to go out there and, wants to start a social media challenge. But yeah, the first 30 days, my only goal was to post.
Okay.
It was just get something out because that was hard enough as it was. Going from basically not posting or like occasionally posting the family picture or whatever to, okay, I'm going to post every single day. And then on top of that, trying to keep it within certain content pillars. So it was going to be Treasure Valley related or real estate related or whatever it may be. So yeah, that first 30 days was a lot of scrambling around, trying to do text over B-roll videos or trying to, find stuff that was working in different verticals and make it work for real estate, trying to do Treasure Valley local stuff. And not that any of it was terrible. I mean, I think it's bad now looking back just because it's so not me. It's not authentic at all. But it was so much harder to post then because every day I was thinking of what I needed to post.
Right.
And now all my stuff is just talking head content. And so it's as simple as like having an idea and putting my little phone mount in my car or in my office and talking. And then that's it. And I don't really plan my content anymore. I don't keep a list of things I want to talk about. It's just something happens or I have a thought or whatever it may be. And I talk for a minute about it and then post it.
So you kind of hit your stride, would you say?
I think so. I mean, it
90?
feels like it. I think around, I'd have to go back and look, but it was sometime early March, I think, I had a video do really well. And it kind of set the new floor for me in terms of like views and followers and whatever. And then after that, I went through a short period of time where I was trying to recreate that video. And because it was like this weird thing where it's like once you had one do well, now I'm like, okay, I want them all to do well. So what was the formula? And I tried to figure it out and I couldn't. And then, I was relatively flat for another 60 days or so. And just within the last probably 30 to 45 days, things have really gone up a ton. So I had that little, like, I always joke around, but I have a graph. I can send it to you. It's like the first 90 days is like almost nothing. And then there's a little spike, which at the time I thought was huge growth because it was like 3, 4, 5x what it was
relative
before.
to what you'd been seeing recently.
And now when I look at my graph, that spike is like, looks like the lower portion, the flat portion of my graph, the first 90 days. But that spike did kind of set a new floor and it seemed like it helped gain traction. The other thing I think it helped it do was, and I don't know, I'm not like super into all the algorithm stuff, but it seemed like it helped identify who my content was for. And so more people started seeing it. And then, really over the last like 45 days, I'd say is when the momentum has really kicked in.
Yeah.
And it feels like not every video is a hit by any means, but the scale is tipped the other way where I'm getting more hits than not. Yeah.
So what you're basically saying is anybody that wants to commit to this strategy, they don't have to do it for very long, right? We're talking 5, 6, 7 months, somewhere in that range, and get started with some sort of plan.
Yeah.
But then just be prepared to make fun of yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
30 days in, 45 days in, whatever it looks like before you start to understand how to do it well. Basically, you just need to get reps is what you're basically saying.
Yeah, I think that's honestly the name of the game is just consistency. I've seen a ton of, challenges of like, post for 30 days, post for 60 days. For me, 100 days feels manageable. That time's going to go by anyways. And, if you have to think of one video for 100 days, the other thing that I think is nice over that 100-day period is you get enough data to know, okay, well, this stuff's definitely not working, whatever that is, whatever format that is. And I would say that like over the first half of that, maybe even 2/3 of it, try everything because you just don't know what's going to work for you. I think that's the biggest thing is there's a lot of people trying things that are working for other people. And I think what's worked most with my content, I actually know because I DM every new follower and 90% of them are like, your stuff was so authentic. It was so genuine. It was so honest. And so I think that's the cadence that I built for myself was just my stuff's going to be authentic. I'm not going to try to do what everybody else is doing. And it seems like it's working. I don't know if there's like a ceiling to that, maybe, where only so many people are going to like my authentic content. But I think over that first 100 days, just set the milestone, do it once a day for 100 days. and try everything for the first half and then look at that data and see what's working, and also see what you enjoy doing. Like that was part of it for me was it's easier for me to talk to my phone in the car for a minute and then post it with very little editing than it is for me to try to think of some like witty caption to put over a B-roll, which then you also have to have the B-roll footage, which I'm terrible at getting. I'm not like the person that's going to set up my phone and get B-roll footage of everything I'm doing. So for me, that's more effort, even though it's a shorter video and probably would do a little better. It's more effort to do that than it is to just like, all right, cool. Here's my phone and I'm going to talk on whatever I decide to talk about that day.
Yeah. Hey guys, we are smack dab in the middle of our Becoming Findable series here. Tanner is I think our fourth guest in this series. We've got one more person that's going to speak into this question as well. But the question that we wanted to ask you today, and we didn't necessarily explicitly ask it, is how do you become findable, right? Yeah. How do people find you when they need you for what you do? Obviously, we've been talking heavily about social media here to get started. If this content is valuable for you, would you please like and subscribe and share this with whomever you think it might inspire or whomever you think it might help, right? So as we kind of talk about this further, what's the point, right? I mean, so we think about, it'd be rad to have 20,000 followers or 40,000 followers or 50,000 followers. I mean, I don't have very many followers right now. I'd love to be able to learn from you and potentially gain more of an audience as well. But what would you say the point of doing it is, first and foremost? Let's start there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I think I'm motivated, and like part of the point's obviously generating business. Like it's a business platform for me. So I do want to generate business. The other side of it is just kind of influence. And that sounds a little gross, I feel like, but, it's the day and age we live in. I think it's super valuable. And I think that, I'm very passionate about sharing a positive message. You've probably seen like most of my stuff that's performing well has been, and this started like about a month ago. I was just like, I'm going to, say a prayer and post it and invite people to pray with me. And it's been pretty awesome. And I've been tailoring it to entrepreneurs and real estate agents and men specifically. Yep. So I think bigger picture for me is I do have a big heart and a passion to see men's lives transformed. And so having a platform where I'm attracting a lot of entrepreneurial men, men that are fighting similar battles, like that's super important to me. Monetary gain, I don't know, maybe. But I know that I've done some things that I really enjoy. Started a men's entrepreneur prayer channel on my page, which is great. I think we're at like 150 members now. You were on our first call last week, which was awesome. Yeah. And that kind of just started from, locally here. I have my men's group that I pray with every week. And I know how crucial that's been in my walk with Christ, and also my kind of rebuilding of what my life was and now is being around a good group of guys. And so I figured as this audience is growing, I'd love to see if I could expand that virtually. And I don't have any real goals or expectations for that group. I just wanted men to connect. And so we're going to hop on a call twice a month and pray together and, hopefully build some relationships and connection, and just know that, you're in a group of guys that are going through similar things and can share. And I think our first call was amazing. There was like 18 guys on there across the US and Canada, and some guys already getting very vulnerable and transparent about what they're going through. And I think that's awesome. So, really long-winded answer to your question, but I guess there's a few things. Like I said, I am leveraging it for business for sure. I'm not getting sent any like free packages or getting asked to go travel anywhere and promote anything. So that's a little unfortunate, but
maybe you just needed a bigger following.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. In my head, for some reason, 35 seems like the number.
That's the number.
I feel like that's the number where if I cross over that, it feels like, oh, this guy's credible. But I feel like that's just I'm just making that up.
I should start talking about golf just a little bit.
Maybe.
And then maybe some golf apparel or a golf club might show up.
Now we're talking. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I haven't like there hasn't been any like life-changing influencer things that have happened to me, but I did get recognized the other day out and about.
Really?
Yeah, that was interesting.
First time?
First time like that, yeah, okay. Where it was like cold, not industry related. Like I've gotten recognized as like,
where were you?
I was at the gym.
Okay.
And a guy came up to me and he's like, "You're Tanner, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, we watch all your stuff. My wife and I, he's like, we just share your videos back and forth to each other. And it was really cool. I had a really cool talk with him. It was awesome. But yeah, that was funny because I was like, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like real estate related. You know, I've had that before where it's like somebody in the industry is like, oh yeah, I've seen your stuff or whatever. It was just like random guy at the gym, and we ended up having a really good talk.
Love that. That's freaking cool. It's a really cool milestone for sure, right?
Yeah.
Don't pat yourself on the back too much necessarily, but at the same point in time, that's pretty awesome if you've made content that has had an impact on people's lives such that you are recognizable and they're willing to say, hello, thanks for making your content. We think it's great.
Yeah.
That's pretty
it probably
awesome.
helps that I wear the same thing everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. Yeah, for sure. So a couple different angles we could go from here, and I think we should go down both roads.
Okay.
The first one is I love the integration of faith into your work effectively, right? And so this effort to grow an audience on social media is certainly to grow your business, right? But at the same point in time, you're using it as an opportunity as well to be very forward with your faith in Christ, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about maybe some internal tension you might feel with that, right? Is there any? Should there be any?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of tension there. And I don't know, maybe there should be. Should there be? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's stigmas out there because of the way we've grown up that we should have separation between church and business, right? But I think hogwash on that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because I used to, I've always done, like used my social media a lot of times, Facebook, honestly, for business. And I used to joke around because business blew up during COVID, which I think probably most real estate agents could say that. But a lot of my business was coming in through social media. And it was kind of like an ongoing joke because when people would ask, oh, how do I generate business on social media? I would used to tell them like post about politics, religion, and controversial current events, which is opposite of what everybody tells you to post about.
Right.
But I wasn't kidding that much because that's what I was doing at the time, being very forthcoming about my thoughts on COVID and policy and, religion and everything else. So yeah, I don't feel a ton of tension towards there. There was definitely, I think a little bit of hesitancy at first, but there's never been a fear of like, oh, maybe people won't want to work with me or what. Because to me, I'm just like, if it was similar to my tattoos, like if that's what stops you from working with me, then we probably weren't going to be a great fit anyways. And that's okay. I don't need everybody as my client. I just need enough clients, And so I think my faith is very similar. It's obviously a massive part of my life. And so it felt less authentic to exclude that from my social media than the fear of like putting it out there, if that makes sense. Like it'd be like excluding my family from my social media. It's like they're such a big part of my life. How could I, and my social medias, I've made a very conscious effort to make my social media authentically me.
Yeah.
And so it's like how it doesn't feel like something that I could exclude.
No, I love it. I think often people are too careful and they tiptoe around it and then they don't tell us their whole story about who they are, right? And again, not for us to say whether or not they're a true follower of Christ or not, but gosh, if you're not willing to talk about it, how are we ever supposed to know that about you, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd say kudos to you for being bold and brave to talk about it. We like to use this platform here to talk about Jesus and lift him high as much as we possibly can. And not every guest is a believer, but gosh, when they are, it sure is fun to be able to give glory to God through it. I think that maybe there's a bit of a stigma and some controversy out there that says, hey, we shouldn't profit off the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think you're at all trying to do that, but I think there's trolls out there that probably could say that.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with running a business that's centered around kingdom things,
No.
I think that at the end of the day, you're exchanging money for a service.
Yep.
Really, regardless of what you do or a product. Like I mentioned, for me, I'm very passionate about seeing men rebuild their lives. And there already has been and probably will be in the future more monetary gain from that.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily, it's not something that I think is being, there's no negative motive there, but I don't know. It's kind of I guess it's a tension point for some people, but for me, I'm just like, it's I'm providing a service.
Yeah.
And I'm providing that service well. And I don't think that it's wrong to be compensated for that,
Not at all.
And I also don't think it's wrong to attract clients that relate to you. like I think that that's good too. It's no different than, wanting to work with somebody because they're the same fan of your favorite sports team, or, they have, I mean, that's what this is, right? Is like, you've said it from the beginning, or you definitely used to say it, of like, people work with who they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
This is such a, it's part of me. If that helps you know, like, and trust me, I can't, why would I keep that,
No, 100%. And I think we should be bold, as you are, more quickly to try to help people select if we're a good fit for each other or not.
Yeah.
Right. The longer we drag that on or lead that on, right, the less likely we are probably going to quickly be of value to each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just, it's one of those things that is, I mean, sales 101, right? Like one of the guys used to tell me, you go into the office and you see a picture of them at a lake fishing, and you're like, oh, I like to fish too. It's like you try to find common ground almost immediately. Compliment and common ground. That's like the two things you want to do as soon as you meet somebody in a sales setting. And so I'm like, I just, maybe I put myself out there and allow people to find common ground,
great.
rather than having to find it.
No, I think it's wise. Yeah, I think the sooner somebody can either decide they like you or not like you, the better, right? Because then you can focus on the folks that do like you or that you like them, and let's get as quickly as possible into our kind of top 25%, which again we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
On this platform as well. So awesome. Love the answer. Love your faith. I love the common ground that we have as well.
Yeah.
And the more that we can proclaim the name of Jesus, the better. I think whether it's business or not, right?
Yeah,
I
totally agree.
Lift him high. Okay. The other question that we had was initially faith, but was, I guess really the question is, okay, so the following is growing. How do we monetize that? Like, help me understand what that looks like from a plan standpoint, right? So let's grow the audience, right? Which is obviously very intentional, right? But then what?
Yeah. Yes, that is the question. Yeah. Still figuring it out.
Yeah.
I know, my goal for a long time, and I might have even talked about it on the first episode, but my goal for a long time has been to get out of transacting as a full-time income. Not that I don't want to transact. I'll probably continue to transact for a long time, but I definitely would like to scale back my personal transactions in real estate. And so, the kind of path or direction I'm going now is maybe cliche, but sort of down the coaching route.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the hopes would be to monetize it that direction. I say hopes. It's happening. I'm launching a coaching program.
Tell us
I have
about
people
that.
signed up. Yeah. So I have two separate things that I got going on right now. I have the Collective, which is a 3-month group coaching program. It's not just social media, but the 3 pillars that we're covering are social, sales, and systems. So kind of my idea is generate you more leads, close those leads at a higher rate, and then help you operate your business more efficiently.
Yep.
So we'll cover those 3 pillars. It's a 3-month long program, but it's continuous. So the goal would be to have people stay in it for 6 months, 9 months, a year, however long they see valuable. It's a group platform. So a couple calls a month in a group setting, some additional one-on-one time if you need help implementing something specifically in your business. And then the other thing I'm doing is I'm calling them like sprints, where it's more specific to social media. So it'll be more kind of challenge based, where there will be metrics that the people that join are going to hit, lower cost, and still kind of get that coaching, that group coaching atmosphere. But it's more specific and tailored towards the growth in social media.
Got it.
Yeah.
So nothing less than 100 days probably in those sprints.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
That's the
just
goal.
guessing.
Yeah. I have it built out over a 6-week framework, but the idea would be to continue it on. And there's some incentive to do that.
Nice. Okay. So group coaching in the Collective, and then sprints, you said, and then systems implementation. Was that the other thing?
Yeah. So systems I'm working on. I have a team that's working on something that I've built out for my own business. That's kind of I don't know, I got told not to call it a productivity software, but that's kind of what it is.
Okay.
So basically I put all my tasks every day into an app.
Yep.
And whether it's, call somebody back, or it's schedule a meeting, or it's do an admin task, I put it into an app throughout my day. At 6 a.m, it runs all my tasks and scrubs it up against my calendar for the day. So whatever I have as far as meetings and calls. And then based on a set of rules that I've given it, it runs it all through AI and sends me essentially at 6:15 an email with my morning or with my whole day mapped out from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
That's cool.
Minute by minute. And it has a bunch of rules, like certain amount of time spent on certain activities, revenue generating activities. If there's, more than 3 admin tasks, then it blocks them into a 30-minute block rather than having a bunch of 5-minute tasks scattered throughout the day. Has priority.
Yeah.
Also works off of tasks that give me, that elevate my energy versus tasks that drain my energy, and it spaces them out accordingly. So I'm working on building that out into, I have a team that's working on building that out into something that in my head makes sense as like a subscription or something that you get as part of the coaching as well. The principles of it are going to be taught in the coaching program because it's something that whether you have the actual app or not,
right,
you can implement in your business. But the goal would be to build that out as like a functional software or app for anybody to use really, but particularly to give to my coaching clients to help implement in their business.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. Amy and I have been having conversations the last several weeks about systems implementation.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's the head to heart transition, right? I've read so many books, or better yet, listened to so many books and not finished some of them because frankly, they haven't resonated, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's really difficult to actually implement something until it's kind of traveled that head to heart highway and it becomes something that I'm passionate about, because otherwise it doesn't have longevity, right?
Yeah.
It's just something you're kind of, this is a good idea, but it's not a heart passion yet. And then it just becomes something that's really forced and really energy draining. What I've said to Amy recently and to anybody that is willing to listen is nobody wants to feel like they're part of a system necessarily if you're on the receiving end of it, but people sure love to feel what a system provides for them, right? If you're a customer or a client of yours and you are in your funnel or your system, you're more likely to be doted on and nurtured, even if it's systematized, right? But you don't necessarily want to tell somebody, hey, I'm going to put you into my system and I'm going to nurture you that way. But without a system, you may not nurture them at all.
Right, 100%. Yeah.
So.
I think that's kind of the tension with AI and automation and all this stuff going on is I think a lot of people are trying to automate and AI the wrong tasks.
Yeah.
And I think there's correct tasks to automate in AI, which is like the systems, right? I think the outreach, even the outreach can be slightly automated, but still personalized with AI now. I mean, you can run everybody through a profile and it can make sure outreach is personalized. But I think that's definitely, for me, systems have always been huge. I'm not very organized when it comes to implementing systems, but everything I run is very kind of systems based, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wish I was better at implementing. I'm just not. But the principle is still there for sure. Yeah,
we recently hired a gal that's helping us implement a new CRM for us effectively, where we've kind of got 2 funnels, right? We've got a client funnel and we've got a partner funnel. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we are nurturing people all the way through the funnel, right? Not rocket science, but some of that's going to be automated email campaigns, right? But a lot of it is just going to be triggers and reminders to, hey, go touch this person that day, this week, whatever that looks like, right? And often if we don't have a schedule to do that, then our best intentions are going to fail us, right?
Yeah.
And then we may not do it. And then, gosh dang it, we didn't nurture, we didn't give that value. We let them slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
And then our odds of converting or our odds of making that person feel special or cared for or valuable, really slim, right?
And I think to kind of, I guess, contradict what I just said a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, we're all running a business, right? And so a positive client experience, consistent outreach, things like that, that's all part of running a successful business. And that's even the system that I built out. It has a block every single day that's for database outreach, and I've put my entire database into it, and it'll identify who needs to be reached out to.
There you go.
And I'm still doing the outreach.
You have to.
But it, from 11 to 12:30 or whatever, it'll be just outreach. And some of it's follow-up, some of it's past clients, some of it's asking for reviews, but it kind of filters my database. And again, it's only as good as what you put into it, but still the intentionality is there. And I think just because my automated email is telling me to do it from this hour to this hour doesn't make it not authentic or genuine.
No, not at all. I think you could outsource that to AI or to somebody else to do for you. I think you're probably less likely to get the response you want out of it, right?
Yeah.
People probably just would feel like, okay, I'm just getting dripped on by some sort of AI bot right here. But it's crucial to be able to have the reminder to actually go do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think one of your posts, even the last 24 hours, it might have just been to our men's entrepreneur prayer group, was, hey, start to do the things the night before or the
Yeah.
week before to prepare yourself to have a better outcome the following day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's putting your gym clothes out the night before, right? You're so much more likely to be able to execute
Yeah.
something that you planned ahead of time versus waking up and being like, maybe I should work out today.
Yeah.
The odds of that happening are probably
Yeah.
not great.
Nighttime me is a lot more motivated than morning time me. And so, I mean, with that in particular, I prep all my stuff for the morning the night before. And my goal is always to not have to make a decision in the morning.
Yeah.
Get all the way to the gym without having to make a decision. So if I wake up and my coffee's brewed on its timer, my water and supplements are ready to go, my gym clothes are out, you know, my only decision is, do I get out of bed or not? And
Yeah.
that's, I can usually make that decision, you know, but I think the same goes with business too. Like if we're only doing what we're excited to do, we're probably not going to get a ton done. And I know the goal is to do as much things that bring you energy and excitement as possible.
Yeah.
But there's a good, I mean, before this, I spent 2.5 hours doing a market analysis for a relocation listing. It's like, I can't stand doing that. It's one of my least favorite things, but I want to get the listing. So I did it, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that part of that is, like I said, I try to limit throughout the day the amount of decisions I have to make as far as getting done what I need to get done.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I call it decision fatigue. My
Yep.
wife hears about it all the time from me, whether I should say it as much as I do or not. But the least amount of decisions I have to make in any given day, just the better the day generally is, right? But part of being human is making decisions, right? And being able to be interruptible. That's one of the prayers of my heart lately is to be available and be willing to be interrupted. Because I think a lot of times guys like you and I, or people like you and I that are potentially very routine oriented and we're preparing the night before to get things done the next morning that we want to get done, we can be almost robotic and almost unavailable, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? I've got a wife and I've got 3 kids and you've got a wife and you've got 4 kids.
Yep.
And so we got to be flexible on occasion too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my, one of the things I'm constantly working on for sure. Cause I'm very because I plan so much, a lot of times if something goes off, you know, it could be whatever. I hit the snooze button one too many times and now my morning's delayed. Well, now I don't get the amount of gym time I was hoping to get, or I have to, you know, cut my gym time to get home for my first appointment. And then it happened last week, got home and the kids needed something. Okay, well now my appointment's late, you know, but it can derail my whole day.
Yeah.
And I try to not let it. And so I think that's it's one of those control the controllables. And so I think that's what I try to do with a lot of my systems. And I wish I could say that I follow the schedule, but I don't. But it's a good baseline for me and at least prioritizes kind of what needs to get done. And things come up, especially now, summer break, schedules are changing every day and trying to do that. But I know at the end of my day, at least when I look at that schedule, even if I didn't follow it 100%, I know what was top priority that day and if it got done or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are the things that you can control, right? You can't necessarily control the outcome. I think just like the Lord says, we can plant seeds, right?
Yep.
We can be obedient, we can plant seeds, and then the outcome is ultimately His. And so to the naysayer or the skeptic that says that's exactly why I don't do systems or planning or routine because then I'm too rigid and I'm too robotic, what would you tell them?
I think my hit rate is a lot higher by having systems and routines than it would be if I didn't. Yeah. Even if it's, you know, call it on average, maybe if you took my entire day, I hit 50%, 60% maybe. On a really good day, maybe 80. But I think if you take that average over time, it would be a lot higher than somebody that doesn't plan, or myself not planning. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so, yeah, I think that there's a time and a place for kind of see what happens and, you know, I'll just kind of go with wherever anything's pulling me. But I think in particular, when you're running a business and you're trying to provide for your family and everything else, I think that the less you leave up to chance, the better. And you gotta, you know, I kind of always say I'll put my head down and do the work. And again, you can't control the outcome, like you said, but I know the outcome if I don't do the work, for sure.
Well said.
And so if I put my head down, do the work, like I said, even if it's 70%, 60%, some days it's only 30, but I know that, and that's the key with this system, is that I know that even if I got 30% done, it was the highest priority 30%. So it was the stuff that moves the needle. It was my outreach. It was my revenue producing activity.
Yeah.
It was getting content out, whatever, for that day. So the other 70% would have been nice to get done. And maybe it makes my days throughout the week a little bit more hectic or whatever. But I know that every day I move the needle. And that was kind of similar to the social media content, was like, just get content out. And then it was like, okay, get content out and engage, and then get content out or try to get better content out. And so that's kind of the way I look at my life now, is like, what's the saying? Like, 1% better every day type of thing. If you don't know what activity that day is going to make you 1% better, how are you going to, how are you sure that you're going to get it done? When I was going through, we talked a little bit about last time, but when I was kind of at what I consider my rock bottom, that was one of my things, was every single day, no matter what, I'm going to do one thing for my health, for my faith, and for my business, and for my family. One thing that moved the needle. And it literally, like, some days for my business, it was returning an email, because that was hard at the time, you know. For my health, maybe it was going for a walk or getting to the gym or cold plunging in the morning or whatever. But I just knew if I could do one thing every day that moved the needle, and it was just in those 4 categories, because I couldn't take on much more at the time.
Yeah.
But what that started doing was it built momentum, and then doing one thing for my health turned into, okay, I'm going to cold plunge and go to the gym and eat better today and not get the fast food junk. For my faith, it was like I was just reading a Proverbs a day. I still, most days, that's all I do. Read a proverb a day. I try to get through other books. I do Bible study, whatever. But a lot of times it's just not, I'll try to listen to the Bible on audiobook, but I'm not as disciplined as I wish I was in sitting down and reading. A lot of it is just my mind starts going right away. And, I was doing it the other day. I read like 2 chapters, and then I'm like, what did I just read? My mind's elsewhere. But during that time, it was like, hey, I'm going to read a proverb a day and, spend a few minutes praying. That was it, or maybe some days it was just like, hey, instead of listening to whatever else, I'm going to put worship music on in the car. Maybe that was my 1% for the day. But I knew if in those 4 categories I could do one thing, then slowly I'd start to build momentum. And that's ultimately what happened over time. And then your one thing turns into like, oh, now I got some momentum. I'll do 5 things today to improve my business instead of just one. And those things get easier and easier.
Yeah, with repetition for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting started is probably one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
You mentioned that there are things in your day, and this is going to be universally true for any one of us that's in business or just working a job, right? As a business owner, we get to actually decide the things that light us up or the things that drain us, right? The things that bring us energy or the things that suck us dry. All the great authors, not all of them, there's a lot of them out there that would basically say, hey, we got to try to spend our time in that one, what Michael Hyatt would say, his desire zone, right? In other words, you're passionate and you're proficient, right? You spent 2 hours earlier today doing something that you're probably very proficient at, but not passionate, right?
Yeah.
And so, like I said, the great authors out there, the Dan Martells, the Michael Hyatts, the Benjamin Hardys of the world, all these books I'm going through my head. What does it look like for you to identify some of those things and start to offload them to somebody else? Where are you at in that journey?
Yeah. So I am slowly figuring it out. Some of it is just having the ability to offload it, resources, whatever it may be. Some of it is really identifying those things. Because for a long time, I've always been just kind of, I'll get it done, put my head down, grind, and just figure it out. I am realizing now, as I have more stuff going on, it's just not practical, and then things get pushed aside.
Yeah.
And it could be something as we speak, I have a listing agreement that needs to go out. Yep. Great clients, ready to list their house. It'll take me 25 minutes, and I've put it off all weekend now and most of today.
So there's a word for that.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Procrastination.
Okay. Did you ever read that Benjamin Hardy, Dan Sullivan book that talked about procrastination?
I haven't yet.
So listen to it, and I can't remember if I think it's Who Not How, honestly.
Okay.
I haven't talked about this particular part of that book in a long time. but they praise procrastination, believe it or not. You know what procrastination is? It's your best indication of something that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Because if you will put it off for as long and kick the can down the road as much as you possibly can, that is just the plain and simple truth that is not your highest and best use, right?
100%.
Let's identify whose highest and best use that is.
Yeah.
Let's find out a way to get them onto your team to start doing those things for you so that 4, 5, 6 days later, when you finally get to it, you don't feel like crap about it.
Yeah.
And it's already done for you.
Yeah. So that's definitely, I feel like I'm in like the early stages of that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the stuff I've identified, obviously, because it's easy to tell, like, I just hate doing that.
Yeah.
But like with the coaching program, for example, like I just brought on a team that we're rolling out this week. They're going to help me like get the offer dialed in so we know exactly who it's for. They're going to build out some of the funnels and automation that I need to keep, I mean, the influx that's coming in of followers and everything else, keep them engaged and make sure that we're capturing all that. Because right now it's like an automated DM that goes out that's like, hey, thanks for following.
Yep.
You know, what interested you in my page? And then people respond and I'm like, okay, great. Thanks. I mean, it's awesome. I greatly appreciate it, but I just I can't sit and have a sales conversation with every single person that follows or have some type of authentic conversation if I know it's not a good fit for the sales side. So I brought on a team because a lot of that stuff I know I can do. I could build it out, but it would take me several hours and it would take me 4 to 5 times the amount of time it'll take them. And it's not something that I care to learn how to do. And so I think that as some of these pieces get put together, then I'll be able to, the goal would be to do less of the things that I don't enjoy and that drain my energy. I kind of joke around, but like my perfect day would be meetings, you know, calls with either coaching clients or some type of group calls, creating content, and then talking with other agents in the industry for, you know, agent attraction, recruiting, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I'm passionate about. I love doing this stuff. I love speaking, you know, public speaking. So I'd like to do as much of that as possible. But there's also the reality of like being a small business owner, and sometimes you just have to wear multiple hats until you know, hopefully don't have to anymore.
Yeah. I was with my wife this weekend. We were on a kind of a planning, dreaming weekend. We were talking about all things: marriage, parenting, business, finances, vacations, you name it. We talked about it. We were talking about me being a small business owner on, you know, many of the conversations. And it's been really cool to identify the things that I love and that I'm passionate about. And it's also been equally freeing to identify the things that I'm not passionate about, right? That drain me, that are things that I either stop doing altogether or by the grace of God, I'm so grateful to have a partner in Amy that I can generally offload things to, right? Hey, it's not in my desire zone, but maybe it's actually in yours. And the reality is I don't have multiple people on my team, but I do have one.
Yeah.
And I love having somebody that I can at least verbally process with, right? And I can assign things to. So anyway, I say that not to brag or to pat myself on the back that I've arrived with, you know, I've got one employee for goodness sakes, but I'm glad to have one employee.
No, absolutely.
And I'm excited to have more than one employee at some point. And I would tell anybody that is in a growth position, I would encourage you, take the risk, get to a place where you're ready, where your business is ready to do it, and then do it as fast as you possibly can, because having that support, I think, is going to be exponentially helpful for you. So
no, I definitely think so. I know that it's super important, and it's something that, like I said, I feel like I'm in the early stages of kind of setting myself up to be there. Because in a perfect world, I'd never touch a contract again, you know.
Right.
I'm okay at it, but it's definitely not my strong suit. I don't like, you know, I mean, it's the one thing I don't like, right? There's no interaction with anybody else. Right. There's no, you know, I mean, it's just like admin type work.
Yeah.
I'd love negotiating the contract, but when it comes time to actually sit down and write it and put it in a DocuSign, it's like, the last thing I want to do, you know?
Yeah. Not your desire zone,
nope,
right? You're
not
very
at all.
Proficient, but not passionate.
Yeah.
Right. So we would call that disinterested.
Yeah.
Is what that would be. So
maybe we'll do it again in 6 months. I can tell you I got 3 employees.
You might. On your trajectory, you're probably going to outpace me for sure. So
yeah, it'd be great too, for sure. And that's the goal, you know, with the real estate, with the coaching, and anything else I got going on. The goal is to build out a team, you know, and I actually had a really long talk with a business mentor about that, of kind of operating as a CEO versus, you know, being self-employed.
Yeah, another book, they call it like you go from an employee to a solopreneur to an entrepreneur to what they call a SIA-preneur, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is basically your business runs without you
Yeah.
being directly involved in it, which should be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know that I still think that might be a little bit of elusive for the career path that you and I have
Yeah.
chosen because it's so focused on relationship with the person, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like know, like, and trust with you or with me is the reason somebody would ever choose to work with us. And so if we are so far out of the picture that they don't have the ability to know, like, and trust us, then I think our value prop becomes a little different.
Yeah.
It really has to be with the Helm group, right? Or the Sessions group that people would build affinity of liking and trusting. So
Yeah, it's definitely tough in the real estate space to get to that point where your business is just going to run without you. But I think you can get to where you're just doing the good stuff.
at least, right?
Yeah.
At minimum, you've got to get to a place where you can offload the things that are
Yep.
not in that, desire zone quadrant. So
Yeah, for sure.
hey, before we sign off here, I'm curious to know about one more thing just today. There'll be more conversations in the future. You've been super data driven in your decision making, specifically around social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about the insights that the social media platforms provide you, and how do you utilize them to help you identify things that are working or not working?
Yeah, I feel silly talking about like followers and views and stuff like that, but again, it's the day and age we're in, and audience is currency right now. But yeah, I think that again, I am super data driven in a lot of ways in the sense of I pay a lot of attention to it. And I try to adjust accordingly. But so a lot of things that I'm watching is just the things that Instagram cares about, right? Like skip rate, followers to views ratio, like how many views are you gaining or how many followers are you gaining per X amount of views.
Right.
And so for me, I have a few of these metrics that I look at somewhat regularly. I wouldn't say daily, but definitely a few times a week, and just see what content is performing high in those certain metrics. And with the help of a little chat GPT and kind of uploading some screenshots into it, it'll let me know where things are falling. Like I have a particularly high engagement rate right now, which is super cool.
Yeah.
I think most of that is because of the way the content is structured. It's just me talking. And so I think that's one of the things that I'm proud of with my following is that it's a very engaged audience. It wasn't a following that was gained through, viral meme type content or anything like that. It's just like it's me talking. And so I feel like the people that are there are highly engaged. And I want to keep that for as long as possible. But yeah, I think those are the things. And I occasionally will stumble across a video where somebody's talking about this is what Instagram cares about now, and I'll kind of look at my content and see where it falls on there and try to adjust accordingly. I try not to adjust too frequently. That's one of the things I've realized as I've sort of strategically started to take social media seriously is micro adjustments in over a period of time are better than just like,
Squirrel.
oh, this worked and now I'm going to do, change everything. It's like, I think, and again, I don't know the analytics behind it, but it feels like anytime I've sort of micro adjusted, even now I still do some B-roll content. I still do some other stuff here and there, but the talking head is what's performing. And then, specific pillars inside of that talking head are performing well. So I kind of have been micro adjusting as I go. And I think my whole thing with social media in general is that it's all changing so fast, and it's going to continue to change. And so what's working today might not work tomorrow.
True.
And so I never get too married to an idea of like, this is what's working, so I'm just going to keep doing that. If I notice it's not working, then I'll adjust.
Yeah.
So, and that's what happened ultimately over the first few months of doing it. I'm like, oh, that's not working at all. I need to figure something out.
Yeah. So I would say where we could leave this is give yourself a little bit more credit maybe than you did earlier. You said earlier, hey, my content really isn't all that planned out now, but it may not be scripted.
Yeah.
But it's very planned in that what is working and what is not working.
Yeah.
And that comes from paying attention to the analytics, right? Actually digging into the data. You could tell somebody to go post for 100 days. And if they're all over the board, they're one day this way, one day this way, they're not looking at the data. They're not studying what's working or not working. They may not find the same success that you've found.
Yeah. I think that's kind of That's probably a good way to put it. A lot of my stuff, really in general in my life, not just my content, is not necessarily rigidly planned or structured, but it's all very strategic. And that's one of the things, like even we were talking about before this, like when I put out content, the way I position it is strategic. When I'm, I'm launching a coaching program, like that's strategic. It's not, I wouldn't say I'm like very analytical in terms of weighing it all out before I do it necessarily. And I think we might have talked about this on the very first episode too.
I recall.
Where I don't think I necessarily try to put the whole puzzle together and then go. But I know I'm very strategic, and it's one of my strengths in, I did a whole strength finders test on it. I forget who put them on, like what the organization is or the person, but strategic is one of them. And so I definitely like thinking that way of like, how is this going to work? And also being willing to adjust. That's definitely something that I enjoy. So yeah, it's not a lot of planning necessarily, but there is quite a bit of strategy in my life in general, but business for sure. And social media content, definitely.
Love it. Well, hey, just like last time, ideally we have attracted some people to you. Hopefully they think they know you, even though they really don't, but there's an opportunity to get to know you, right? What's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you?
Yeah, do it. Follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Tanner Helm. And yeah, if you do, you'll get an automated DM, but then after that, it's me.
There you go. Love that. Well, hey guys, thanks for being here today, watching this with us. If you've watched all the way through, we really, really appreciate it. If this content is interesting to you, if it was valuable to you, we ask that you would like it and subscribe and share it with your audience. We would love to grow this as much as we possibly can. Tanner, thanks for being here today, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, as always.